Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Midwest Mindset. Today I'd like to do something a little different. Usually you guys see me out in the woods working on habitat projects. I would like to reflect on the 2023 hunting season and habitat season. Here in the Tepe household, we had an exceptional 2023 year. My oldest daughter, who was 9 years old during season, was able to harvest not one, not two, but three deer this year on her first ever year deer hunting. She was able to get a nice doe behind the house on the main food plot, which we have some video of that for you. She was also able to get her first buck, a nice little 4-pointer in the state of Michigan on November 17th. And then she backed it up on November 18th, the very next morning, with a nice little 7-pointer in Indiana for Indiana's opening day of gun season, which we also have some video footage of that we'd like to show you guys too. We'd like to bring up some of the successes and failures from the 2023 season, mostly habitat related. This year I planted ag for the first time in a long time. I've had very bad results with ag in the past due to limited space and the deer just devouring it before it got a chance to mature, or maybe it matured but it just didn't last very long into season because it was such a small plot. We actually did a soybean plot here behind the house. My daughter killed her doe over that in September in the youth season. They were coming in and just pounding those green leaves on the soybeans pods and the stems, and so that ended up working out great for us. What I had to do differently was I had to put an electric fence around it. So I had to get a solar panel and had to fence it off. That plot is just under a half an acre. I think it was 0.45 when I mapped it out. And I would say about half of that was beans. So we're talking an extremely small plot. But we also added in a strip of corn as a screening, but also food in between the blind and the main part of the food plot. And it actually grew so well, even back in the woods, that I had to get in there and top off a bunch of the corn stalks because we had no shot at the scrape pole. So those were some of the successes. We had some beautiful brassica plots this year. I planted a 3/4 of an acre little corn plot, screening plot down the road on a small 8-acre property that I got permission to do some work on. And oh my gosh, just absolutely, they annihilated that corn. But it served two purposes. It served for food, and honestly, it served for a screen, because until we got hit with a real heavy wet snow in mid-January, it was still standing tall. I mean, you could not see the woods. You could not see the brassica plot on the other side of it in between the woods and the corn until mid-January, after we got hammered with a bunch of nasty cold weather and also a lot of heavy wet snow. And here in southern Michigan, where that was at, seasons are over January 1st. So it definitely, exceeded expectations in that location. I'd also like to talk about some failures. We have a reduction zone spot in Indiana, in northern Indiana, and it's in an urban setting, and they have too many deer, so they allow you to come in and earn a buck. You go in there and you harvest a doe, and then you gain a second buck tag for the state of Indiana. Indiana is only a 1 buck tag state otherwise for statewide tag. I've been hunting it for the last few years. I've taken 3 nice bucks out of there, all with archery equipment. And last year I killed a nice 11-pointer over my food plot, and the food plot worked great last year. This year I came in, I made the food plot bigger. I did everything I did last year. But this year, the difference was a flock of approximately 20 turkeys had moved in on this particular property, and they wiped me out. They ate all the seed basically as soon as it hit the ground. I tried to come back in and salvage with winter rye in the first week of September, because I planted the initial fall plot in early to mid-August. 80% of the initial plot was gone. It never even germinated. What did germinate was browse so hard I never saw it get above 2 inches. In that initial plot, I planted soybeans, Australian winter peas, and then a brassica blend with just radishes, purple top turnips, kale, rape, etc. So then I came back in early September, first week, threw 50 pounds of rye on a very small plot, maybe a 1/4 acre plot. Once again, turkeys annihilated it. Unfortunately, I've learned that that's just not going to work in that location unless I fence it off. And I'm not sure I'm willing to go through that kind of work on that location. What I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up frost seeding some clover in probably mid-March to early March. Going to end up frost seeding some clover into that. I think that's the only kind of food plot that I'm going to be able to put in there that will withstand the browsing pressure that it's going to get from all the deer and the turkeys. And then also, I think the seed is small enough, and during that time of year, it doesn't seem to have as many turkeys in the area that I think we can get an established clover plot in there. I also attempted a poor man plot. It was a failure, but it was mostly a failure due to the fact that I did not get in there and do what I knew needed to be done. I needed to get in there, weed eat it, knock down the shrubs and the trees that were in there, and I needed to get it sprayed 2 to 3 times. It was just too thick, too much thatch, and I only got in there and weed eated and cut down and got 1 spraying on it. And I just said, screw it. I didn't have time. I was just too busy. You know, sometimes you just can't get to everything, and something has to be, you know, put off for that year. And that was the plot that got sacrificed. I went in and seeded anyways. 90% of the seed I never saw it germinate. There was a couple tiny pockets of it that grew, and then it didn't grow good. I think it was due to competition. So that's a couple failures here for 2023 habitat season. Overall, I would say, you know, 80% of what we did was a success from the habitat standpoint. You know, we branched out and we did a couple different things this year. I had a lot on my plate and was trying to do the best I could with the time that I had available, plus also being able to be present at home for the wife and the 3 little kids. So, you know, looking ahead, 2024 might look a little bit different than 2023. I'm going to try and devote more time to habitat and to, you know, getting more of the small projects done. But, you know, I'd also just like to highlight the fact that we did have a great year here in the Tepe household. The freezer is completely full. My wife ended up killing her best buck to date on November 1st on the home food plot behind the house. We got some awesome video footage off of my Tacticam reveal that's actually on the scrape post that you guys seen me install back in September. And she ends up putting a smoke shot on this nice 8-pointer, 25-yard shot all by herself in the box blind. Stops him, whack. Perfect shot. He makes it maybe 100 yards, if that. And man, talk about just an absolute awesome way for my wife to, you know, to harvest such a nice buck behind the house on the plot that we do so much hard work in our main box blind that she loves the most. And, you know, the night before on October 31st, we had a snowstorm come through on Halloween night. And I was in that blind with her, and she ended up electing to pass a 7-point buck, bigger than anything she'd ever killed. Nothing huge, but still bigger than anything she'd ever killed. And this guy was at 15 yards, perfect broadside, bow in hand. And she said, no, I want something bigger. When you know it, 10 minutes later, her number 1 target buck, a buck we've been watching for 3 years. He's got exceptional brows. He's a 10-pointer. He ended up breaking one of his G4s off, so technically a 9 at that time. He ends up cutting right through the food plot. He was on a mission. He was looking for that first available doe. Didn't even stop in the food plot to eat. Just cruising. He was just cruising right through. Didn't give us a shot, but it was an awesome, awesome experience for her and I in the blind together. That's the biggest buck that she has ever seen on our property. I've killed bigger deer than that on the property, but that was the biggest buck she'd ever seen behind the house hunting. And I'd also like to show you guys that video footage. We got a small clip of that. Just neat with the snow coming down and just a nice southern Michigan buck here. Just a 3-year-old deer. As far as I know, he made it through the season. He's probably going to be at the top of my hit list now here in Michigan as a 4-year-old. And fingers crossed, maybe one of us will be coming, behind him next year. I really hope so, because that would just be awesome to watch that guy grow for 4 years and to be able to harvest him on such a small property here in southern Michigan. Speaking of Tactacam Reveal, I'd like to take a moment and just say thank you to Reveal for sponsoring Midwest Mindset along with Fall Obsession. We are honored and privileged here in the Tepe household to run Tactacam Reveals. We've been running them for years. I have some of the Generation 1 cameras that are still out. I'm just excited and humbled to be represented by such an awesome company, and we're going to do our absolute best to represent them. We believe in Tactacam Reveals. We've spent our hard-earned money on Tactacam Reveals, and we hope that you guys will also. We'd also like to talk about another company that we've partnered with, Huntington Outdoor Gear. They have provided us here at Fall Obsession and here in the Tepe household at Midwest Mindset with these very nice handy brackets. I know you guys follow along with Fall Obsession. You guys have seen us post these in the summertime. These brackets slide into the top of this Tactacam and they lock into this antenna, because like I do, you own cell cameras. I don't care what brand it is. I've owned a lot of different brands over the years. You come in, you've been out of town, you've been gone, you come back, there's squirrels have jumped on them, raccoons have jumped on them. Who knows, maybe wind, a branch fell down, but your antenna's down. Now all of a sudden your signal's not always the greatest. Here in southern Michigan, we already fight signal to begin with. So it's important to me to have that antenna standing straight up at all times. So I'd like to say thank you very much to Huntington Outdoors for also sponsoring us. I'd also like to highlight Hoot Camo, which I'm wearing their ultralight hoodie here. It's extremely comfortable. I catch myself wearing this thing all the time, not just hunting, going for a walk to check trail cameras, going to town, hopping in the truck to go to the gas station. Extremely comfortable, extremely nice, and being able to move around and flexible. If you guys use the code FALLOBSESSION15, you guys can get 15% off of this very awesome brand, Hoot Camo, American made, based out of Texas. I highly recommend it. I've used this stuff in Colorado. I've used this stuff in the Midwest. Absolutely love it. Some of the best camouflage I've ever worn, if not the best camouflage I've ever worn. We've gotten hit with some extremely cold, windy weather out in Colorado, and I also did when I was hunting in Indiana in early January this year, and I stayed warm. The only thing I had to worry about was some hot hands for my hands. That's it. Highly recommend. Like I said, Fall Obsession 15. You guys get a 15% discount. You guys should really take advantage of that. I'd also like to highlight on October 8th, I was able to kill a very nice mature buck in northern Indiana. I think it's very funny because on podcast 157, Sam and I were talking about what's the opening week of bow season look like for you. He asked me, where are you going to be opening day? What's your first week look like? And I told him, hey, I don't know. I do have some ideas on where I would be, but a lot of it's going to depend on the weather. A lot of it's going to depend on what the cameras are telling me. I'm not a guy that's that excited about getting out there on opening day like I used to be. A lot of harm can be done on opening day if you really go out there and push it during the heat of the season and when these deer aren't quite as active during daylight as you'd like. So a lot of times I push back. I don't go out right away. Well, I remember in that podcast, I told Sam, I said, I've got 2 bucks working a clover field, and this is the one that you guys seen me guys plant. This was the frost seed in March that I got from Double Tine Innovations. They're a local company based out of Indiana. And I planted that clover plot. I did not fertilize it. I did not spray for weeds. All I did was mow it twice. Absolutely gorgeous. It's like a carpet out there of just clover. And when you know it, I'm working on October 3rd. I get a text message or I get a message notification from Tacticam. When you know it, my #1 target buck, 15 yards in front of my stand in northern Indiana on that clover plot in the morning, broad daylight. It's over 80 degrees that day. I hadn't even bought my Indiana license yet. We'd just gotten back from an archery hunt in Colorado with the wife and the kids. I get on my phone, get online, get a tag purchase. I get out in the stand that night. When you know it, I lay eyes on this guy, October 3rd, very first night in the stand. He stays out 150, 200 yards away, but hey, I got eyes on him. We played cat and mouse for the next several days. I hunted him 6 times from October 3rd until I actually killed him on October 8th. I seen him twice. I seen him in the evening of October 3rd, and then I saw him on the morning of October 5th. Both times he was 150, 200 yards away. But my cameras were telling me that I was, you know, as a matter of time, I'm going to end up getting this deer. And wouldn't you know it, October 8th in the evening over the clover plot. If you guys haven't already, you need to check out the podcast. I forget the number of that one where we recorded that podcast with Sam after the kill. But ended up shooting this deer 45 yards in the clover plot, and just talk about a plan coming together. You know, change that plot into clover. It's never been to clover on that small 14-acre property, not a large tract of land by any means, guys. You don't have to have hundreds and hundreds of acres to kill big deer. You just got to have what they want. And so I'm extremely pleased with that deer. I ended up having him aged at 4.5 years old. He was live weight, 266 pounds. Just an exceptional northern Indiana whitetail with the bow and arrow. And once that was done, you know, my Michigan tags, you know, the pressure was off. But didn't end up killing any bucks in Michigan. I seen a couple on one permission piece that I had, and I ended up losing that permission piece a week before gun season due to the farmers wanting to come in and hunt. So the landowner ended up letting them hunt it. He didn't want to lose his farmers, and understandably so. Definitely a bummer for me. I was starting to put the pieces of the puzzle together on 2 really nice deer here in southern Michigan. But yeah, so I'd like to highlight Double Tine Innovations right now, because they've jumped on board and they are now partnered with Midwest Mindset. And I think that's huge for me, because I was able to partner with not only a local company for me, so I can go shake this man's hand and have a relationship with him, but I have bought products from him from years and years. He's well established in the area. He's sending product all across the country. And what I love is when I read the insert matter on the back and I look at what's in there and what kind of quality seed he has and germination rates and coating on the seeds, and the inert matter is always extremely low. And he told me, he said, Mike, the reason I wanted to start my own business is because I'm so tired of spending my money on crap food plot seed. And isn't he's speaking to the choir. If you guys have ever went to Walmart, TSC, Rural King, these big box stores, and you ever flip those bags of seed over and actually get down and read what is in it, what percentage, you realize a lot of times you're buying a 10-pound bag of seed and you're only getting 5 pounds of actual good germinated seed. And so you think you're getting a bargain, but you're really not. So if you guys get a chance, check out my guy Newell with Double Tine Innovations. Trust me, you will not be disappointed. He has very good, high-quality seed. He can ship to anywhere in the U.S. Check him out, Double Tine Innovations. Also, I would like to take a minute and talk about my buddy Neil. I took my buddy Neil out with me this year. He ended up harvesting a small 6-pointer with his crossbow. I got some pretty neat video footage of that also. And then we ended up taking him out in the late season, and he was able to harvest a nice mature doe in late muzzleloader season to help fill his freezer. I'd like to personally thank him for helping me do a decent amount of habitat work this year. He ended up driving to some properties with me well over an hour away that I hunt, and helping me mow and maintain, install food plots, hang tree stands, etc. And I told him, I said, hey, in exchange, I will definitely take you hunting. And I took him out twice, and he killed 2 deer. He's more than excited with what he was able to kill. He's not really caught up in big antlers. Yeah, he likes big antlers like we all do. But at the end of the day, he's got very limited time to put meat in the freezer. And so he's mostly worried about having that freezer full. So I just wanted to shout out to him and just tell him thank you very much for all your help. And I'm glad you had a successful season. Looking ahead at 2024, we got some exciting news here in January of 2024. We kicked off a land consulting business, something I've been passionate about for over 20 years now. I had to sit down and think about how long I've been actually working on habitat projects, not just hunting. And I came up with 2001 was the first year that I actually started working on habitat on properties. And this has been an absolute passion of mine. The older I get, the more deer I've harvested, the less I'm excited about the kill as I am about the pursuit and the habitat that involved being able to harvest that deer. I think for me this year, being able to tag a nice mature deer over a property and over a plot that I put in, and be able to utilize a property that I've been able to do some habitat adjustments to and some habitat manipulation to, you know, that's even better. You know, some guys love going to public and trying to figure out the pieces of the puzzle, and I hunt public too. Every year I go out west chasing elk or mule deer, you know, always on public land while I'm out there. And, you know, there's a different excitement about that, but there's also something about doing that 365, 24/7 like I do, chasing these big mature whitetails here in the Midwest, putting in so much time and effort to try and make these small properties, you know, hold big deer and have big deer walk through them in daylight. They're not going to live on these small properties all day, but what we're trying to do is give them habitat features that they sought out, and then we are able to capitalize on, trying to put these deer in position where we can get shots at them without them knowing we're there, play the wind, give them reasons to come there other than just does or just the peak of the rut. You know, I killed that buck October 8th. There was no rut happening. That was strictly feed to bed. That's all that was with that guy. And I'm extremely excited for this opportunity to be able to offer my knowledge and to, you know, you guys that might be interested in hiring a land consultant like myself. And if you're not interested in hiring myself, maybe you can find somebody in your local area that can help you curve the edge on your learning experiences and make you a better successful deer hunter in a shorter amount of time. You can learn a lot from YouTube channels. You can learn a lot from, you know, forums. They got, some people got websites. They have information on there, you know, whitetail academies and stuff like that. You can learn a lot from those. But there's something that's very valuable about having someone come on your property that knows what they're doing and be able to tell you exactly what they would do to set that property up to be more successful in the future. And I just hope that you guys had a great 2023 season. I know we're all looking forward to 2024. And remember, if you're not happy with your past success, try not to do the same thing over and over again. Expect different results. Start putting some more work in, some more time in. Like I said, maybe hire a land consultant, maybe just watch some more informational YouTube videos, etc. Learn how to become a better hunter, a better woodsman, a better conservationist, a better habitat manager, and you will greatly be rewarded with your success being increased, not just in 2024, but for the years to come. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this episode. We've got a whole new season started up, and we look forward to bringing it to you. Thanks.